sharing now.
That's right. Wherever you like.
Yeah. Thank you.
And now declare the regularly scheduled meeting for the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 to order. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hendry?
Here.
Commissioner Milne?
Here.
Commissioner Nicolason? Here. Commissioner North?
Here.
Chairman Bertolio?
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move it. Go ahead.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Henry, second by Commissioner Milne. Any questions or comments on any of the items? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of CUP 22-003, a request to relocate a CUP by Geodynamics. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the commission to approach the lectern and state your name and address for the record. Mr. Nelson, may we have a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'll be providing the staff report this evening. Geodynamics has moved its warehouse and distribution center from 2122 Melody Lane to 1359 Willard Drive in Casper. The purpose of this CUP is a request to store oil field completion equipment, including shape charges for perforating, steel carriers for conveyance, plugs for zonal isolation, and other related equipment. Conditional use permit was granted previously by this commission to Geodynamics for the same use at 2122 Melody Lane in 2019. And you can see this is the aerial view, and highlighted is the Wheeler Lane address where they're seeking the conditional use permit. The zoning here is light agricultural. There's an existing shop building on the parcel along with outdoor equipment storage. This was heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval of the conditional use permit on July 13th, 2022. The staff does recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit to the Board of County Commissioners. I would just add that since the issuance of the conditional use permit in 2019, there's been no issues at the previous address, and I do understand that Geodynamics is working with Justin Smith, our building official, on any permit requirements from the building side of things. And with that, I would attempt to answer any questions. I believe the applicants are here in the audience, since they're probably best situated to answer specific questions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Nelson? All right, there being none, would the applicants like to come up and good evening.
Good evening. So I'm Brett Lehman, Regulatory Compliance Officer for Geodynamics. I set up the original application to get our CUP permit at the previous address. Mr. Reed pretty much provided all the details of our request. You know, we moved to a new warehouse. We're just asking to transfer our CUP or issue a new one, right? As he stated, we haven't had any issues while we've been working in this area. We pass all of our ATF inspections, DOT, any of those inspections. We have a nice, clean record. We meet all the requirements with the different government agencies. So if there's any questions.
Any questions for that? Could you, just one, would you give us your address, home address, or what do you need, Michelle, home address? Or business, or just an address for the record?
625 Brazos Vista Court, Weatherford, Texas. 76087.
All right, thank you. Yeah, here, Commissioner Henry.
Out there at that site, you will be storing some explosives.
Yes, sir.
Is there if you store more than a little, then you have separate bunkers, separate containers? How's that work?
So, so under ATF, you have what's called table of distance chart. So depending on the distance from your magazine storage bunker to your closest inhabited dwellings, to the road, to the highway, certain things, right? All that stipulates your maximum storage weight. Because of the close distance to the roads and our neighbors, right? We are limited to I think 1,200 pounds for outdoor storage. I may be wrong, but it's very similar. It's very close to that.
Okay.
Relatively a small amount. And then inside the building, we are limited to 50 pounds max. So right now, we have multiple magazines outdoor of the warehouse, but we're only using one.
Okay.
With the size of our packaging and, it eats up the space before we can get anywhere close to 1,000 pounds of net explosive weight. To further answer your question, certain explosives can't be stored together. So this is one of the reasons for having an indoor storage mag. For the indoor storage, we like to use that to store our detonators, and then outdoor, the shape charges.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner
Thank
Mill? Commissioner Mill?
This is a light industrial area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're following all of got ATF's blessing and everything, so.
Yes, sir. We have our ATF license. We go through regular inspections with them. All of our magazines are approved type 2, ATF approved type 2 magazines. We even go a little above and beyond with our security features, electronic, automatic gate openers, RFID readers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of CUP 22-003 to approach the lectern. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? There being no one to speak in favor at this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to CUP 22-003 to approach the lectern. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? And third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? There being no others to speak for or against CUP 22-003, I now declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to approve CUP 22-003 along with any findings of fact.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, I would so move.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that with one little change in the memorandum. I don't know if it's needed or not, but the zoning indicates light agriculture. It needs to indicate light industrial.
Mr. Chairman, I just caught that as well. And
Okay.
I think for the permit wording, it'd be fine. We'll catch it.
Okay. So it's been moved by Commissioner Henry, second by Commissioner North. Any further discussion? Mill. Excuse me, Commissioner Mill. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have reached the end of our regular agenda. This time, we'd ask for any public comments. We'd ask that you keep your comments to five minutes, and we'll do our best, if you have questions, to answer them after the public comment period. So with that, good evening, Mr. Green.
Hello. Good to see you all. For the record, my name is Tom Green. I'm a local Casper attorney. Grew up here in Casper and did a whole career in Nevada, and then moved back here to Casper in 2008, where I spent some time in Douglas as a deputy county attorney there to get familiar with Wyoming law a little bit. And then I ended up last year as a deputy county attorney here in the Natrona County Attorney's Office. And it was a terrific job. I loved it very much. I loved the thought of growing up here and then coming back to this county and ending up at the county attorney's office. To me was good, just a really good deal. And today I'm here with some bad news, which it's going to ring some bells with you, that there might be some possibility to it, because I know you've been involved deeply in this. And so I don't want to blindside you. I want to tell you exactly what I'm doing right now, why I'm doing it, and I didn't want to blindside you with this. And so this is the first time I've gone public with it. And I have been talking to the media about it a little bit because of the timing, because I want this message to go out completely to as many people as I can get it out to. I feel so strongly about it. And I'm absolutely prepared to discuss this with you in any forum, in any way you want to. And you can pin me down, put my feet to the fire, anything you want about it. And I'd be most happy to do that. I didn't come to the county attorney's office with no experience. I spent 30 years in Las Vegas as a government attorney, 7 years as a deputy DA, 13 years as chief assistant United States attorney for all of Nevada, then finished up 10 years with a chief deputy city attorney for the city of Las Vegas, doing the same type of work as here at the county attorney's office. So it's not my first rodeo. The only thing I really never had experience in before coming here was tax assessments. Wouldn't you know it? Well, and as luck would have it, I bought a piece of property along with 2 other property owners up on Garden Creek Road to use as a buffer zone between our residences and Garden Creek Road, solely to be as open space. And as you know, I ended up having our own tax appeal on that piece of property. And so I had to learn about tax assessments. And I learned a lot. I lost that appeal in front of you, but I'm not here to talk about that being right or wrong whatsoever. But I got some really, during that process, I felt that I had some extremely negative treatment by the county attorney's office, and I thought I had a right to appeal and I shouldn't be treated this way. But I thought it was just a personality conflict. I mainly thought it was a personality conflict between me and the deputy county attorney generally handling the cases, and I chalked it up to that. And as time went on, the conflict in the office got so severe that Mr. Nelson finally decided that he would take that deputy county attorney off of the case and he would handle the case himself, which was great relief to me. I thought we'd probably settle it in a heartbeat, but not to be. In fact, the next thing that happened was I filed a motion to compel discovery because I was denied all discovery. I was shut out of the county assessor's office, didn't get a word. I was denied all access to all information, and everyone was told not to speak with me. I found out about this very gradually, and only because a couple of people in the assessor's office were willing to tell me what was going on. So I filed a motion to compel the discovery, and our county attorney responded to that. And that's where I first learned about a very serious problem. In that response, the law and the facts with regard to the appeal were misrepresented to the tribunal. And that's an extremely serious thing. There is a canon of ethics in the bar. It's called candor toward the tribunal. And it basically says that you cannot knowingly make a misrepresentation of fact or law to the tribunal. So that term knowingly is very important, because I have absolute proof positive in writing that those were misrepresentations of law and fact to the tribunal. The only issue is, were they knowingly done, or was it a matter of ignorance of the law or incompetence? So I don't even pretend to answer that question. But I still thought it was just me. I thought it was because of the hullabaloo that I had created, and but because of that, I just quit the job. I didn't want to work in an office where that sort of thing would be going on. Misrepresentations to the tribunal. I've never been a part of that. So I quit, and everything was fine. Well, what's really interesting, and I think this should go on the record, is that two of the council members, at the end of that, they denied my appeal, but two of the council members suggested to me, I think it's probably on the record even, it was right at the end of the hearing, but I think it was before the hearing actually ended. But in any event, suggested to me an alternative way under the law in the county that I could reach the same result by combining 4 lots that we had bought. It was only an acre anyway. By combining them, and I would end up just paying taxes on 1 lot. And they asked me why I didn't do that. And I go, well, number one, because I didn't know anything about it. So we left that hearing, and everything was fine. I pursued that alternative, and my taxes, our taxes with the three owners, ended up being less than they were before I appealed. So it was like, so there was no animosity against me at the county commissioner level. Even those that voted against me had no animosity against me. They did what they felt was right, absolutely. But since then, now, just in the last 2 weeks, I've been requested by Cindy, don't know why I can never think of her last name, from Buffalo, anyway, to participate in some appeals that are pending. And so I took that on pro bono, and I started delving into those deeply, those appeals. And I'm not going to talk about those appeals because those are pending in front of you. So we have to pretty much build some kind of a wall there. But just the fact that I'm involved in appeals again, and now I'm much more familiar about appeals. And since delving into these cases, I'm 10 times more familiar about appeals, because exactly the same thing is going on that went on in my appeal. So what I've learned, I want to divulge now for the first time to the public, and I intend to scream this from the housetops, all I can. I'm putting my heart and soul into divulging this information and taking whatever heat comes from it, and I will appear anywhere with the documentation, and I will speak with any attorney that wants to try to pin me down on it and say that I'm wrong. That's fine with me. It's fair game. And now you have an attorney in your midst. That is intriguing to me, definitely. I don't know you from Adam, do I? Just want that on the record. But I think having an attorney on your county commission right now is probably one of the best things that can happen about this problem, because he's going to be able to sort the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So what I've learned for an absolute certainty is the following. For the last 1.5 years, since these appeals have been going on, the county attorney's office and the tax assessor's office have been virtually in lockstep to defeat taxpayers' appeals illegally by first withholding discovery and other information that they're statutorily entitled to receive. That's number one. Intentionally withholding discovery and information that they're statutorily entitled to receive. Then number two, they've been covering up for that and fighting through the appeals by misrepresenting the law to the hearing officer and to this commission. And I can prove that, absolutely. And I'm willing to prove it to anybody that's willing to listen. One thing I want to put on the record very clearly is I'm not accusing the county commission of a single thing. I have proof positive of what I've just said. I have no evidence, zero, no evidence that the county commissioners are involved in this in any way. Is that clear enough? Although, I'm not letting you off the hook either. You hire and fire the city attorney, and you have passed some of these appeals through and denied them, and they've been remanded back to you because of some of the issues I'm talking about. And I don't think you've taken much action that I know of to throttle the county's attorney's action in this matter. Why not? Because you didn't know about them. Even if I tell you this right now, you won't know if I'm a crackpot and that I know what I'm talking about at all or not. So even if I reveal this to you, you won't know about it. So it's no wonder that you did not know about this for the last year that this was going on. Taxpayers didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it. It's complex. The law, as you know, with tax appeals is pretty complex. But one thing is absolutely certain. There's statutes, there's rules, there's a couple of different things. In the law in Wyoming, starting from the Supreme Court down, the law is absolutely certain that statutes take priority over rules. The way they've been making their misrepresentations of the law, they've been taking some obscure rule, uniform rule of concerning tax assessments, and they've been holding that out as the basis for their action. They've been misconstruing that little bit of law, just one little sentence here and there, misconstruing it and saying that that is the reason that they're withholding, that the person is not entitled to the information they're requesting. And it's absolutely false, because there's a specific statute on point that mandates that piece of information be given. So it's very absolutely clear. It's absolutely certain that they have been misrepresenting the law to the tribunal, of all things. It is alarming. And it's pending now, and it's pending in all these appeals that I have. So I have ideas of how to solve this. I don't know if you're interested in them at all. But number one, I would continue all tax appeals. I would contact all current taxpayers in any appeals pending right now and see if they would be interested in continuing them until after the election. That would be nothing but fair, because I'll guarantee you, this doesn't just happen just by coincidence in the cases I'm doing now and the one I did back then. No. Cindy Barlow, I remember her name, I asked her just yesterday, I said, from all the cases that you've handled, what percentage of the cases in Natrona County on doing tax appeals would you say has this been a problem where they're withholding information illegal? And she said 100%. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So that would have to be handled correctly, because there are obligations to get these tax appeals on as soon as reasonable. But the law with respects to continuances allow for accommodation of the parties and their representatives' needs. And if things are explained to them, I don't think there's a person that would not take you up on that and continue these until after the election so that everybody would get a fair shake. Secondly, I want to tell you exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to do anything behind your back. I want you to know what I'm doing. I have called Dallas Laird, and I told him I'm supporting him because I really respect what he did in the city. He went over there in the city, became a city council member, and as a direct result of his actions, the city attorney was relieved of his duties, and they got a new city attorney, and that completely solved the problems in the city. And so Dallas, as you know, I'm sure you know him better than I do. He's not a politician. He doesn't want to be a politician. But he doesn't like things that are wrong either, any more than I don't. And he knows what's going on here. I think if he was on the Board of County Commissioners, we would have two attorneys on the board then, could throttle this county attorney very well.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
now you're getting a little personal here, and
Oh, it's deeply personal, but I will.
and I appreciate that, but
It's not personal, actually.
Well,
I
I'm not
don't
here-
like people
Tom,
that do things
I'm not-
illegally.
We've
Okay.
heard that you believe it's done illegally. You'd like us to delay the hearings until after the election or till next year. The issue there gets to be that we have to schedule our time too.
Right.
We have 700 appeals right now.
I don't expect an answer now. I'm just saying
So
that I do
I'm
have
just
some
saying that-
proposals.
Yeah,
Okay, I hear you, and I respect you.
okay. Thank you. So if you could just wrap it up.
Okay, you bet. The other thing I had in mind is, I was told by several of you over the last year that the county attorney's office would not be representing the assessor's office anymore with regard to tax appeals, and that's one fix that you were going to institute. So I'm assuming that may be true for future appeals, but appeals that are already happening somewhere along the line or that are still in the system are still being represented by the county attorney's office?
Yes.
I mean, they're still representing the assessor.
Yes, they still have to be, they started them, so the ones that we remanded back, that went up to the State Board of Equalization that have come back, like Mr. Carpenter's, the county attorney's going to represent
All right.
those
My
those
final-
cases, but all cases moving forward,
My final suggestion then is this. You should get to the bottom of this. I think you owe it to the county to get to the bottom of it right now. This is an emergency. I mean, immediately. This is an emergency. I believe you should have an emergency closed session hearing. Closed because this involves employment of a county employee, potential employment, or an evaluation of employment, so a closed session could be justified. I think you should put my feet to the fire, and you have an attorney to do that. Perhaps he could hire another attorney also, I don't know. I think you should put my feet to the fire and test this and see if I'm right or wrong. And if I am right, then he should be taken off of these cases. The county attorney should be taken off of these cases right now.
Okay. We'll
Thank you.
we'll take it under advisement. Thank you.
I really appreciate you listening to me, and I apologize for
Okay.
heated language.
Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening, Mr. Laird.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner. My name's Dallas Laird, 536 South Center Street, Casper, Wyoming. I'm going to get back to something that Mr. Nicolason said that stirred in me a belief that I have, and I think you all do too. And that is that it's called the Golden Rule. Treat other people like you yourself would like to be treated. I think that one rule solves all the problems. Now, I know that you gentlemen aren't lawyers, and I don't expect you to be lawyers. But lawyers do have a depth of knowledge about Wyoming statutes and rules and the differences, and understand what happens in different kinds of courtrooms and administrative hearings like you're having now. But you're required to follow all these rules like you all are lawyers. And I know Mr. Bartolio said a while back about this Eagle software system, and it has certain agreements with the company. But whenever any piece of evidence is introduced against a person, they're entitled to have access to it. What we do in court is if it has these confidentiality agreements, we're required to sign a confidentiality agreement that it won't be released to the public, but that it can be used in the hearing, and that evidence is therefore admissible and required in discovery processes. You really do have a bad discovery process, and I do believe the statute's being violated because it's very clear, 3913-109 states that the people are entitled to the evidence against them. It's just a natural outpouring of constitutional law. It's not a Star Chamber proceeding. They're entitled to know whatever the assessor uses to determine their values. Now, I have a suggestion, and that is, in fact, it came up when I talked to Mr. Hendry the other night, and that is we were talking about Cynthia Barlow, who is an expert in assessments and has made it a career. I would suggest you consider hiring her as a consultant. And I talked to her today. I said I was going to suggest that. And that I think she would charge about $500 to come down here and give you guys a couple 3-hour seminar. And I've had it, because I didn't understand what was going on down there either. So what I do when I get into cases, if it's a medical malpractice case, legal malpractice case, I get an expert. Someone who's really deeply embedded and isn't going to fool you, because you hire them and they will explain it. But I think it is such what's happening to our community now is terrible, because they're scared, they're afraid. One Supreme Court judge on the United States Supreme Court one time said taxes can be a death penalty to people. And this whole community, gentlemen, is scared. And I really, truly, I think you all are gentlemen. And I think you want to do the right thing. And I think you want to treat other people like you yourself want to be treated. And I'll tell you what, she's going to charge $500. If you hire her to come down and give you a seminar, I'll donate half the money to pay her bill. Because I really think you ought to hear what she has to say. If the assessor would have hired her, Mr. Henry, you kind of suggested that at one point, and I thought that was very wise on your part, because I think you do care about Natrona County. I think you all care about Natrona County, the people here. So if he would have hired her and he would have been taught how to do this job, he might not be making the mistakes he's making in treating people the way he's treating them. So I just make that suggestion. Now, I have a couple of things I want to say very quickly. I've had people call me and they think you've let the fairgrounds run down. I've looked at it. I don't have an opinion. Really, I do think there's some things that should be done there. And I know that you say that the Fair Board is running it. But I can tell you, since I've been in this race, one of the things I keep hearing is people not taking responsibility for their jobs. You guys run the county, in essence. The buck stops right here. Harry Truman had a little sign. He was an old president. He says, the buck stops right here. And I know you guys can handle this. And I don't know why you're not handling it. I don't know why you're saying, go to your legislature, go here, go there, because the legislator's tired of hearing that. Because they give you something, and then the County Commissioners Association goes down and won't support the legislation that would have helped the people. Now, that did happen, Mr. Bertolio. That happened. I saw it on video. So all I'm saying is, treat other people like you yourselves want to be treated. It's really a magic that happens. And because I really know in your heart of hearts you want to do the right thing. I really do believe that. Now, we've got an election coming up. There's 4 guys here up for election. There's 2 of us out here. I don't know what's going to happen in that election, but I know a lot of people are talking about it. And some people want to see a change. And some people want to see new blood. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep trying to do the right job, which is to represent the people of Natrona County, which I've done my entire legal career. Because they can't come to these hearings and defend themselves against a county attorney who I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to go to one of these hearings and hear, but I hear just terrible things about how the attorney that's handling this treat the people. The people are telling me this. So what can you do about it? Get yourself more ammunition, and that's more knowledge of understanding these things, because I know this gentleman over here can tell you about discovery, and I'm looking at Peter Nicolason. He understands that, and he understands what the courts are going to say. So the next thing I want to suggest is that there's an issue with the water and pipeline to Midwest and Edgerton, and that the 6 cent failed. And it would have failed if that's all you asked for, in my belief. You have the money, gentlemen, to fix that problem for these people. They're afraid up there. They're scared of what will happen. And it's about drinking water, of all things. You've got $2 million. You can fix this problem. You don't have to tax any more people. You're not going to be able to sit there and get taxes through anymore when you're setting on the money you got from the hospital. That's dead money when it sits in the bank, when you have to build things and run this infrastructure. Because money sitting there that's drawing a little bit of interest is useless money. So I'm asking you to take care of those people up there. There's like 500 or 600 people up there. And that doesn't include all the workers that come in and out of there. And they're scared. And they don't think you're doing the job for them. So I want to ask you, Mr. Bertolio, I'm telling you that's the truth. That's what they're telling me. The people out in Evansville, they think you have forgotten them.
Evansville?
Well, Evansville, the city did connect them a road because they were afraid if a train blew up out there on the tracks, they couldn't even get out of Evansville. So the city connected a road for them. That was done when I was on the city council.
That was done quite a bit, way before you were on the city council.
No, well, I was on there when they completed it. Now, I know you were on there a long time. You've been here a long time. But sometimes when you smirk, I wish you would listen, because I don't treat you that way.
Actually, Dallas, you do.
Well,
That's neither here nor there.
so I'm just saying, treat other people like you yourself want to be treated. If you do it, I'll do it, and we all do it, because I'm not a perfect human being either. But I'm hearing some of the ways you're tending to this money. I have people calling me and asking me about Mr. Henry. Why did he run for the 2-year deal? They think he's doing it because he's selling the county his gravel. I don't know whether that's true, but that's one of the things that they say. Well,
Okay.
it's not true, Mr. Bertolio, but,
I think your time's up, Dallas. You're just grandstanding
well,
right now.
you can say that, because I know you don't want to hear it, but I think Mr. Henry can certainly address it at the end.
After it, man.
And, no, I'm fine. I'm telling you what people are telling me.
Okay, we hear lots of stuff too, so.
Well, I'm sure you
The
do.
question about Eagle View, you can look at Eagle View, all it is an aerial snapshot.
It isn't a debate.
But
Yeah,
anyway.
it isn't a debate, but it's, the people are entitled to see it, and to see if it's being handled correctly, to see if they're operating it correctly, to see if the evidence they're using when they make an evaluation with an LAD, if they're using the right issues. Your own house is undervalued $200,000.
I have no idea.
Well, you know it's at $375. Every realtor in town says offer him a check because you will sell it tomorrow for $575.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Charity LaFountain. I sent you each an email yesterday. If you were able to read it, I won't read the whole thing.
Yes, we read it.
Just want to make sure, that way we can just hit some of the high points. I'm aware that you had a conversation today with the sheriff. Thank you very much for that conversation. This is important to me for several reasons. I've been under the Sheriff's Department now for 9 months. I'm the Victim Services Coordinator. I'm thrilled to be there. I actually left a job that was paying me quite a bit more to take this position. That was a choice that I made because John Harlan runs a great office. He truly does. He had requested an 8% COLA across the board for the sheriff's office. To me, that was extremely conservative. We know that over the past 1 year, we've seen nationwide over a 9% increase in everything, right? The grocery store, at the gas, everywhere we go. That doesn't include the past years that we've seen increase. So I felt like an 8% was very conservative on his end. We know that you chose to award 3% or $1, depending on the employee. At the time, some employees were denied part of that. My concern with that is several-fold that I did lay out in the letter to you today. I have a concern that the first payments, the decision that was made was the 40% increase in your pay. I understand there was a need for that because, again, after many years of not receiving an increase, that needed to happen. I get that. I don't believe that it should have been the first decision that was made when we're looking at law enforcement. Also, the 10 to 14% for appointed employees, and then other elected officials at 20 and 25%. We're talking a large amount of money. I serve day in and day out with officers in uniform who literally are putting their lives on the line every day. And I would like to see them earn what they can. My request is this. I have four suggestions that I would like to offer that I would ask that you please look into. Please put in a step and grade increase for all positions. The sworn employees have certain levels that they do make. Civilian employees do not have that. I have a coworker that has been with the sheriff's office for upwards of 10 years, has seen extremely small amounts of increase to her cost of living, separate even from merit pay. Please understand the difference between COLA and cost of living. Obviously, that's different there. Like I said, when we're looking at a 9% inflation right now across the nation, 3% just really isn't much, especially on top of the hit we just got with our health insurance. Please keep moving forward. You have promised that you would continue having these conversations, that there would be some research done. I ask that you continue to do that. I know it's on the top of the sheriff's mind. I know it's a conversation he's having very frequently. I will continue to follow those, and you'll probably see me again, just continuing to stand in front of you and say, please, please support these men and women that are out there every day doing hard work. Not only do they do hard work when they're out there, just to be honest, but they take that home with them. It's an all-day job. Several of us are on call 24 hours a day, any day of the week, including vacation days. That phone may ring at 2 a.m. We get up and we go. The stuff that we see on the scenes is not easy. It's not just a 9-to-5 job by any means. I do have a question, I guess, is what other agencies were denied that COLA? That is something that I have not seen in the remarks that I've read. And because of that, I do have a concern. Are there other agencies still in the county that are missing that increase? Or was it just simply the sheriff's office? We did recently, because of this decision, we lost 6 of our sworn personnel. One of those gentlemen had been with the office for quite a few years. It was a very difficult decision for him, but he did make the comment that it was the lack of COLA that was the straw on the camel's back. He just simply has to provide for his family. As difficult as it is to recruit new officers, we certainly need to retain the good ones that we have. That's a tough loss for us. I believe those are my comments, if I can answer any questions on
All right.
my end.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. There being no one else, commissioners' comments. Commissioner North.
I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Mill.
Nothing as well.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the public comments. I would like to start by committing to the Natrona County employees that we are working hard to take care of you because you are the most important asset. You do make this place run, and you make it run well. As we've told you many times, we're going to be working on, and we are working on, a plan for additional compensation. We're hoping to roll out well before the end of the year. It's a complicated process, so I hope everybody can be as patient as possible. Inflation continues to hurt us and our pocketbooks every day, and it impacts the expenses that are incurred by the county as well. And the county, as you might imagine, has a lot of bills. We're always seemingly signing checks and vouchers and things like that. It's not getting cheaper for the county. I don't make an excuse in that respect, but it's just an observation. I would welcome Mr. Green to submit in writing matters that don't pertain to pending litigation, information pertinent to the matters you mentioned. I don't mind taking a look at that as long as it's not a pending matter, and try to figure out, like you said, hold your feet to the fire. I just like it in writing so we can actually analyze it, sleep on it, confer about it, and then maybe we'll have a response. With regard to the suggestion by Mr. Laird that we hire a paid consultant, and I know Mrs. Barlow, and she acted as an expert on behalf of some of my clients back in the day that I had some of these property tax appeals. It would be completely inappropriate for that individual to provide any sort of consultative anything to either this county board or the county assessor's office. So you mentioned her specifically, and I just say there's certain things that just wouldn't work out well. Importantly for me and our family is to be to, I guess, express my public appreciation for the emergency responders, the fire crews, the sheriff's office. Wildfires are a clear and present danger this time of year. It drives me absolutely mad when people throw their cigarette butts out the window on Wyoming Boulevard or other areas, and it's also against the law to do that. But I would just say how thankful I am to see all these different agencies coming together to fight fires. We had, fortunately, no structure or livestock loss, but a lot of great habitat, a lot of good grassland. But it was really great to see all these agencies work together like that. So thanks to all the emergency responders. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hendry.
Yeah, I'm not going to let it go too much. But Dallas, you're wrong on a lot of your points, and that's just the way it is. You can't have somebody come in and train us on how the taxes are done. That is done by the county assessor. We only sit as the Board of Equalization, and our powers are limited. So to have Miss Barlow come down, and I know her, and she's very good. At one point, she could have helped the assessor, but to come down and train us isn't going to work. The training of the county assessor is done by the state board of Department of Revenue. That's who trains the assessors, and we have nothing to do with that. I hope that you do come to some BOE hearings so you can witness firsthand how they run. I've not seen you in any of them when we had 3,000 of them to do a couple of years ago. And then as far as the LEA, it's LEAs, not LEDs. And I think the commissioners need to have some say in how those are. But it is not in statute now. And I think if we've seen that there are some that are wrong, and I think the County Board of Equalization and the county commissioners, we have commissioner expertise in anything dealing with federal lands and federal land policies. I think we ought to have commissioner expertise on knowing our county. And I probably know this county better than most people. And then to throw up the gravel deal on a county road that you said that graveled my road, well, sure, I use it. It's a county road. It's been a county road since the 50s or earlier. And yeah, they did that road that goes out past my house. They also did it down to Lost Cabin, which is one of the biggest, deepest gas fields in the country, in the world. There's one well that produces 42 million cubic foot of gas a day. And there's a lot of traffic comes out of Casper and goes down the Lost Cabin Road. At the time that was done, we were working on Buffalo Creek, still working on Buffalo Creek, to try to get some gravel out there. We were working on other roads to try to get gravel on there. We can't haul gravel out of Casper. So I said, all right, if you want a road to gravel, that one needs it. I will donate the gravel to the county. So I donated to Hillside, it was our minerals, probably in the tune of somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 worth of gravel. I gave to the county. Didn't ask anything in return. except they gravel that county road. And it went from Armento to Lost Cabin and from Armento to the county line on Badwater. I gave the county that gravel. So to put it in to make people think, that's what you do in this election. You've made, just throw stuff out to see what'll hang out on the wall. And that is dead wrong. Yes, that road was gravelled, and I gave the county the gravel. I didn't get anything out of it. There's other things, the hospital, you didn't mention it tonight, but you've thrown numbers out that you have no idea what went on in those meetings. None. But in the election, you're trying to scare people to thinking that you're the only savior in the county. And that is not right. Elections have consequences. They really have consequences. Look in Washington, D.C., look in the assessor's office. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? So I just getting tired of all the stuff that's spewed out that is not based on facts. So I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's been a lot in our forums and stuff talking about the hospital dollars. And I'd like to address that so that the citizens have some idea of what the commission, these commissioners, as well as prior commissioners, have thought about this process and why we haven't jumped up and started spending the money as fast as we can get rid of it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have that largest sum. It will, provided we can get some higher interest rates or earnings, it will give us the opportunity to replace state funds that we desperately need to run day-to-day operations. It has long been the going back when the conversation first started, probably 4 years ago, it was the view of all the commissioners that we would never touch the corpus. We would treat those dollars just as if they were solid walls, and we would build off of them. So that has been our intent. We do not want to spend that corpus because once it's gone, it's gone. This is an opportunity to leverage those funds for the future. And as we're seeing right now with the rising interest rates, while it's also hurting everybody's pocketbook, it's helping ours because we are getting higher earnings that we are intending to use to help with our employees' salaries. And same thing with property taxes. We don't know to what degree those are going to stay as high as they are, but we intend to use those dollars. That's what we're using when we look at our employees and we're trying to figure out how much of these dollars, new dollars, are going to be sustainable, because we can't give 8% COLAs across the board if we don't have the money, because as Einstein said, most powerful force in nature is compound interest. Once we start 8% and we give 2%, that 8% never goes away. It's not 1 year, it's in perpetuity. So we have to be able to balance what we see as future revenues against our expenses. So we're very cognizant of the fact that we have projects out there that need to be done. Those are one time. We can spend that money. But our employees, which are our base, we have to be able to fund their salaries and benefits in perpetuity. So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how we're going to do that. The wage study is going to have a dramatic impact, I think, because where the sheriff's department, the deputies have a step in grade. We've never had that. We have employees with 10 years experience that are making, in some cases, prior to what we did, less than somebody who just came on, because we had to offer them a higher. So we've made the lower, we've adjusted at the lower level to try and at least deal with some of the inflationary issues. But long term, we want to make structural changes to how our employees are paid, so that we recognize that when you have an employee who's been here for 10 years, it shouldn't be paid the same as somebody who just started. So we're working on those, but a lot of that comes back to the hospital dollars. If literally, as I said the other night, if we start spending, it's going to be like spending a window at a time, and then a wall's gone. And you can imagine it won't be long before it's all gone, and our costs are still going to be there. So with that, we're adjourned.